The story began with the fact that a young, beautiful girl with incredibly beautiful hair and a sad look entered the office. She was dressed in a classic black suit with a long coat on top, with one hand in her pocket and the other carrying her bag. She was concentrating on walking down the corridor. At that moment, she heard that one of her colleagues addressed her, calling her the deputy head. He said that everything was already ready for the morning meeting. Without even turning her head, the woman said that she would come soon. After taking off his coat and walking into the meeting room, there were many workers sitting at the table. Taking the papers in her hands, she said that she had familiarized herself with the relevant cases and the report of the project group. After that, they had to go to the scheduled moments. Employees discussed the deputy chairman in whispers. They talked about the fact that the girl recently looked completely different. Usually, she was very strict and intimidating, but at that moment, she listened to the team members and took care of them. They believed that the woman was truly an ideal leader. But in the meantime, the deputy head thought that being the perfect leader was simply terrible for her. She understood that she had to become like that because she wouldn't be alive if she didn't do it. The main character just wanted to live freely and safely. She thought she was asking for very little. Bowing her head on her desk, she clenched her hands into fists. She couldn't believe that she had become a thief in a drama where she could die at any moment. Then, the girl remembered how she moved to a new house. She had only one box left to unpack, and the move was over. Standing in the middle of the room, the girl realized that it was very beautiful in that apartment. And from that day, her new life began. As a child, the main character had a hard time, because she had nothing because she was from an orphanage. She survived only thanks to persistence, and in the end, she still managed to achieve a lot, and she got her own home. The girl's joy knew no bounds. She ran to the window and, opening it, saw that there was even a balcony. It was an amazing feeling for her. At that moment, she called out Hanja's name. Picking up the phone, the heroine decided to rest a little and order something for dinner. Suddenly, she felt completely inexplicable sensations that happened to her, not for the first time. The girl couldn't understand why her heart had been squeezing and hurting so often lately. Having been checked in the hospital several times, she was told that everything was fine with her, but such feelings did not give her peace. Because of this, she was very worried. Sitting down to dinner, the girl turned on her favorite TV series, which she liked very much. Watching it, the girl thought that its main character was quite crazy. In her place, she wouldn't live like that. Han pondered why villains in dramas were always so mean, always arguing and fighting. Half of the drama's screen time was devoted to constant shouting. While listening to the film, the girl thought that even if the actors gritted their teeth and said they were going to kill, they didn't think about what might happen later and just beat people up or cut them with a knife. But after getting up from the chair, the heroine realized that this is exactly what attracted such dramas. Although she cursed them, she still watched until the end. Smiling, she realized that since she had gone so far, she had to watch everything to the end and understand how the movie would end. Suddenly, at one point, it seemed to her that her heart seemed to be torn into pieces. The girl could not understand what was happening to her. Falling to the ground, she subconsciously understood that she needed to call an ambulance. Struggling to reach for the phone, she realized that she had worked so hard to get to that moment. She thought her death was very stupid. Suddenly, coming to herself, the girl opened her eyes. At that moment, she realized that she was still alive. After getting out of bed, Khan felt a very bad headache. Then it seemed to her that she was in a hospital. Suddenly, she heard voices. Someone said that the girl had regained consciousness and called a doctor. An unknown woman approached her and scared her. The woman said that the girl was unhappy and asked why she was so upset. The woman started shouting at the girl and told her that instead of working, she was hiding in her room. Afterwards, one asked if Han Dae had forgotten that she was Seongwon's vice president trading. Or eyebrows. The woman continued to shout at the girl. Khan did not understand what was happening and why she behaved the way she did. After that, the girl asked who that woman was. She added that she did not understand at all what was happening there, but she was sure that the woman was mistaken. Then the unknown woman said that Ta was putting on a show there again. After that, she asked if the girl wanted to upset her mother again, forget everything and added that she should. In any case, the woman called her Kim and warned her to stay there. At the same time, she turned to a girl named Shinsura. After falling silent, Khan looked after the unknown woman and did not understand why she called her that. At that moment, she remembered the movie she had watched the day before. Shinsura's name was mentioned there. She recalled that someone approached the main character of the film and asked if she thought that she could get away with what she did to someone. Let her be sure that Shimsera was the name of that thief from the drama she was watching. Jumping out of bed, she felt very excited. Khan believed that it was complete nonsense and she could not turn into the main character of the film. Approaching the mirror and looking into it, the girl realized that her face had not changed and there were no scratches on her forehead. She was sure that Tokno fell from a heart attack and hit her head on the table. Also, the girl remembered that there was a lot of blood. Examining the room she was in, for some reason, everything seemed very familiar to her, even though she was there for the first time. The girl stood and felt completely confused and unknown about what was happening. Meanwhile, the doctor told Han's sister that the girl had short-term memory loss due to a concussion. He warned that in time, the memory would be restored, so there was no need to worry. It was only necessary to take care that the girl had less stress. Meanwhile, Khan was packing her suitcase. The girl was completely confused, and she believed that someone was simply mocking her. After all, she not only died stupidly at the most important moment in her life, when she finally had her own house, but also became a thief. The heroine of a crazy drama, which she watched herself. If she didn't want to deny the situation she was in, but the memories of Sera's true tire continued to enter her mind. Memories of a thief who made all sorts of stupid concessions and threatened the main character. According to those memories, the period in which she found herself came after she had already committed many crimes and beaten the main character to death. Around that time, in the plot of the drama, the transforming thief Shinsaru is eventually killed by the three main male characters who loved the main character, and in the final conclusion, the girl was doomed to death. She believed that she had already died young from a heart attack, so the shadow of injustice was enough to drive her crazy. Having packed her suitcase, she thought about the fact that she should not live as a cursed thief and die according to the script. Putting on her shoes, she decided that she was running away from there. Approaching the exit, she realized that she would be fine if she could get through the main gate. She understood that she had already started her life from the bottom and survived thanks to her tenacity. The girl was sure that starting a new life with a clean sheet of paper is better than continuing it as a thief with spoiled karma. At that moment, she felt that he caught her hand. She saw an unknown boy in front of her. With a sullen look, he asked where she had gone and called her Shinsera. It was Aaron. As usual, they collided just as she was about to run away. This man, Aaron, was one of the three main male characters in the drama. Aaron was the illegitimate son of the late Chairman Jong, one of the founders of Songwon Group. Having lost his mother, he came to Songwon out of hopelessness. To his surprise, Chairman Shin saw the image of the late Chairman Jong-in and decided to support him. Thanks to which, Aaron took the post of deputy chairman of the Sonbun Company Construction. Alone, Shinsera, the rightful heiress of the Sunwon groups, could not accept such a situation. She did not rush at him with questions about who he imagined himself to be and what qualities he possessed to become the head of the company. She yelled at him and said he was just showing off like his mother did. The heiress humiliated the boy and said that he could not be the deputy chairman. She said that she would not just give him Sungwon, and she would definitely return everything to someone, even if she had to kill him. Thus, Shinsera and Aaron became the worst enemies who intended to kill each other. In conclusion, Aaron, who was constantly molested and also persecuted by Sarah, met the main character, who was in the same difficult situation and fell deeply in love with her. And when the despotism of Sarah's tires became unbearable, the boy decided to deal with her. After that, Aaron staged a car accident to disguise it as a murder, and Shinsera became his target. That's why she thought the insects were comas, because she didn't want to die like that. In any case, she needed to get out of that situation. Their eyes met with the boy, and she told him to let her go. But Aaron once again asked where she was going. The girl replied that she was going to leave everything and go. Thus, they will not have to fight for the right of inheritance. She said that he could take everything for himself, and he would not have to see her face. Then the girl asked if it suited him. That was why she wanted him to let her go. The boy looked intently at her and pondered over the fact that these were her tricks. Shin denied everything and said that it was not so. She said that at that moment everything was pointless, and that in any case he would let her go. Aaron looked at her in surprise. He asked if she hit her head hard. He shouted loudly at her that he was the only one who cleaned up after her, and in the end looked after her head. He talked about how he couldn't just watch her again. Although they did not get along, the girl believed that she should not have put up with everything just like that. She cried out for him to let her go. At the same time, she hit the guy hard. She asked if he felt better. After that, the tire ordered to listen to him carefully. She said that she was leaving there forever. Therefore, she warned him to stop worrying about her. But, suddenly at that moment, she again felt a maddening pain in her heart. Aaron did not understand what was happening with the girl. Opening her eyes, the girl woke up again in the ward. She did not understand what was happening to her, and it scared her very much. After going to the doctor's office, he said that after a careful examination, no abnormalities were found. She couldn't believe it. The girl talked about the fact that she was really in a lot of pain, and her heart seemed to be squeezing hard. The doctor said that it could be a psychosomatic disorder due to severe stress. After that, she was driving in a car with her then unknown woman. Holding her head, the girl said that it really annoyed her. The woman with the top looked at the girl and then asked if she was satisfied. After that, she said that the tire should have thanked Aaron because he brought it into the room when it fell. Then, the girl asked if she could go somewhere to rest and recover. Her friend did not like this at all. She asked how long and would continue to do this. The woman added that it caused her parents a lot of pain every time she did it. Sheena smiled and said that maybe she was sick because she was doing something she couldn't do. The woman said that from the very beginning, Sheena wanted to take the place of deputy head and even got engaged to head Cha. Then, the heroine began to remember everything. The woman continued to tell and asked if the girl had continued communication with Cha. Kobanam added that no matter how far they were from each other, they still had to keep in touch. Then, the girl remembered how she had spoken to another male character, however, that she would not be able to find anyone else of his level as easily. It was Cha Jae. In is another main male character of the drama, and Shinsara's fiancé. With his impressive appearance, outstanding abilities, and honest character, he was an ideal husband. But he shouted, however, that she should forget everything, and they were just business partners outside the official setting. After that, he added that she agreed not to come into contact with anyone. Despite the fact that he was her fiancé, he only agreed to the engagement for the sake of the Sunwon Group company. For Shinsara, he was simply an indifferent and condescending groom. From the point of view of the heroine, he was a gentleman. But what was the point of marrying such a superficial groom for a coma thief like her? That is why she took the phone in her hands and wrote him a message so that they would live on their own from then on, and thank him for everything. The girl suggested that maybe the real Shinsara liked bad boys, but Han hated them. It was the announcement of their breakup. In any case, returning to the run, she pondered why her heart ached. It was this question that bothered her. Suddenly, she missed that it was all because she was unwilling and refused to accept Shinsara's fate, and she did not understand what to do with it. Khan wondered if she would die of a heart attack or live and die as a thief. Either way, she was going to die, and now she had to accept her fate. Suddenly, her phone received a message from Jae-in. He suggested they meet. Even in such a ridiculous drama, it seemed that it was stupid to end the relationship with the help of messages. The girl went to the boy. Upon entering the destination, she was met by one of his subordinates and informed that he would escort her. That he replied that she just wanted to talk for 10 minutes and then leave. She did not understand why he invited her to such a place. She absolutely did not understand rich people. Seeing the girl, he offered her to sit down and make herself comfortable. Han believed that if the real Shinsara had not loved that man, her life would have turned into mud. Cha Jae-in, who was with Shinsera only for the sake of benefit, from that moment began to understand that he truly loves the main character. Therefore, her life begins to fly into the abyss. Shortly after the divorce, Chajae-in found himself involved in a corruption scheme that was connected to the Sunwon groups and became a known economic criminal. Losing forever both the group's son, Won, he so longed to get, and the girl he loved, his life began to crumble without a chance of recovery. In the future, she needed to stay out of contact with that person for as long as possible to live as a tire of Sarah. Then the man turned to her and asked why she spoke about breaking off the engagement. She smiled and replied that it was because she wanted to. He did not understand the girl's answer. After all, when she asked for a wedding, she said that she would crawl on her knees if she had to, and now she decided to break off the engagement. Embarrassed, the tire replied that everything was just like that. The man thought that the girl was still not serious about it. Getting up from the chair, he asked if she was still tired of playing those emotional and childish games. After that, he continued that marriage. It was a kind of business, and it's not something that she could just break up or organize only at her will. The girl did not understand why she could not break off the engagement. She said he talked about business and all that, but she didn't even sign the marriage contract. In any case, there was nothing between them, so she said that she didn't like the guy anymore. After that, she told the boy not to say that he had feelings for her. After all, judging by everything she heard, he really did not want to marry her. And if it's true, I still don't think it's better for them to break off their engagement. The boy looked at the girl and said that it was very strange to talk about it, but he decided to stop because he was tired of all the nonsense she was saying. After that, he added that they would marry as she wanted. The man said that the girl will be a part of his life. Sheena could not understand what he meant. His shoulders to the girl. He said that he had expressed his opinion quite clearly. After that, he said that he had a meeting and he would like the girl to go away. At that moment, the man's assistant entered the office. He turned to the deputy chairman and asked to conduct it. But the tire did not give up and shouted, however, that she wanted to break off the engagement. Following him, she cried out that the man was driving her away because he had nothing to answer her. The girl continued to shout that she did not want to marry him. Walking down the street, she thought about what she liked so much about the boy that she decided to marry him. She believed that he only had good looks, and everything else was disgusting. Khan believed that since Tyre was born rich, she had plenty of good options anyway. At that moment, she realized that even if she became a thief with bad karma, if she continued to make the right decisions, wouldn't her life be different from the life in the original drama? Then she realized that nowhere was it said that she had to die. Crossing the road, she saw that a car was driving towards her. At the moment when she approached the car and said that if he almost hit someone, he should get out and apologize. When the car window was lowered, she saw a young blonde boy. He asked why he had to apologize to anyone. She had not yet answered that he had just almost hit her and asked if he had seen the traffic lights. The guy looked at the girl and said that everything was fine with her. Handing her a business card, he told her to contact his lawyer if she wanted compensation for emotional distress. This made the girl very angry, and she kicked the door. Throwing down her business card, she told him to send the cost of the door to that address. At that moment, it was very uncomfortable for her to be next to him, so the girl decided that it was necessary to run away from there as soon as possible. Passers-by watched what was happening. Meanwhile, the boy read the business card and realized that it was a girl named Shin Sara. Then he realized that he would definitely meet her again. The next day, the girl came to the office. From that day on, she had to work there as deputy head. Looking at the building, she thought about how many floors there were. Walking along the corridor, Ham saw Aaron. She came closer and asked if he was busy because she wanted to talk to him. The guy decided to listen to Sheena. The girl said she just wanted to apologize and thank him for taking her to her room. She added that she should have thanked him earlier and apologized for what she did then. But the guy interrupted her and said that he had asked her earlier not to do anything like that. It seemed that she did not understand something. He informed her that there was a CCTV system in the garden. If he didn't pay attention to the person who fell right in front of him and just walked away, it could be considered negligence. Hearing this, the girl felt very confused. After that, he turned his back to her and told her not to take any nonsense to herself. He added that it seemed to him as if she liked to think that she had exposed him to something. He didn't want to talk to her about it anymore. The girl stood for a long time and looked after the boy. At that moment, she realized that there were many moments that she needed to work on. Then, she went to her office. Sitting down at the table, she thought about all the situations that happened to her. Khan understood that people tried to avoid her. Reasoning all the events, the girl understood that all people looked away from her when they were around. She especially saw it on the secretary. When she met him, he looked the other way when he talked to her. After opening the computer, the girl realized that all work reports and details of the councils were presented in an inappropriate form. This made her very angry. She did not understand why they discussed everything among themselves and did not consult with the deputy chairman. Wherever the girl went, people constantly talked behind her back. Everyone discussed the fact that after she caused such a commotion with the group management, she still dared to come to work so unscrupulously. They believed that she did absolutely nothing, and also saw the coma as full of loneliness eating in a cafe. Han understood that if she had such a crazy boss like Shinsera, she would have to grind her teeth on him herself. At that moment, she heard someone's voice behind her. Someone asked her why she had taken so long to dine, and whether she had had other dishes. Director Beck approached her. He said that due to the fact that she was the deputy head and held a high position, such unpleasant incidents took place. The man reported that all the articles had been deleted. Raising her head, the girl thanked him for telling her about it. After clarifying the exact name of the man, she apologized to him, as she explained that she had minor memory problems due to the shock. The man replied that everything was fine and offered his help if she needed it. Director Beck from the very beginning was the general secretary, close to the head of tires, and to see how he related directly to her and spoke. Then the girl did not understand how he could warn her, so that she calmly related to the coma events that took place in the company. The heroine decided that she did not need such warnings. From that day, she decided to live quietly. But a lot fell on her, and she wasn't sure who would be able to do it. At that moment, a man entered the office, and, turning to the deputy chairman, said that they had come to her. The girl was alarmed by this, because the day before, he spoke about the fact that there was no one in her schedule. He replied that the meeting had not been scheduled, but the person had already arrived. Someone really wanted to meet and talk with her. The secretary asked if he should invite the guest into the office. The girl smiled and told him to come in. It seemed to her that there was no need to chase away that guest. After seeing who entered the office, she realized that it was still necessary to chase away the unwanted guest. It was the boy in the car. Khan did not expect to see him there at all. Folding her hands in front of her, she asked what brought him to her. The boy smiled and said that she gave him her business card. The girl immediately replied that if it was about the door that she hit, then she suggested that the guy discuss it with the secretary. She already had a lot of work, so there was no time for long conversations. She told him to come another time and say goodbye to the boy. Smiling, the boy said that he had come there to see her. Coming closer, he said that he wanted to look at her face and it was necessary for work. After that, the unknown person said that at that time, he would give her his business card, as it should be. The guy said that the girl must keep it. Taking the business card in her hands, Khan was shocked by what she saw. She saw So's name on it, Zhong-Wan. At that moment, the girl remembered some events. For some reason, she was handcuffed, and at the same time, So was present. The girl shouted that he had lost his mind. Seo asked her why she couldn't give up, even though she knew she had no other choice. Sarah only satisfied her curiosity and desire, which led to obsession and jealousy towards Ying Ken. Khan understood that clashes with the main male characters were inevitable. Everything happened exactly as it should, according to the plot. So asked the girl why she looked at him like a ghost. Han understood that the whole situation happened faster than in the drama. She believed that that boy was spoiling everything. In any case, she wanted to get rid of him as soon as possible. The girl believed that there was no need to complicate the situation. She smiled and said that whether there would be business negotiations or lawsuits for damages, all this had to be done through the secretary. Khan once again added that at that moment, she had a lot of work. CEO smiled and said that the girl was just luring him out of the office. After that, he added that she should not behave in this way. At the same time, he pulled out a flash drive from his pocket. The heroine did not understand what he meant. The guy added that he recorded everything on a dictaphone. There was everything from her verbal abuse to hitting his car. Despite the fact that the girl had a decent reputation, Sarah, who brought problems to the Sunwon Group company, could have a lot of trouble, and he wanted to help it. At that moment, Sarah exclaimed that she didn't care. She said he was just doing what he was saying and called him stupid. After that, the girl asked what good he had done in his life. He did not see the traffic light signal and crossed the stop line at the pedestrian crossing. The girl said that it was a traffic violation. She then added that because he recorded her crazy acts on a voice recorder, he was caught on traffic cameras. The girl asked why he was so confident, if he himself almost had a serious accident in the middle of the road. At that moment, the boy raised his hand and seemed to want to hit the girl, but Khan quickly took her bearings and grabbed him. Afterwards, she asked if he had come all that way to threaten her. The boy smiled and said that she said very scary things. Coming closer, he said that he had come there to see her face. And since now they had to see each other more often, he also wanted to say hello. Turning his back to her, he said that he had a meeting soon and it was time for him to go. But he said that they will definitely see her. The girl ran into the corridor after the boy and shouted for him to give her the recorder. At that moment, the secretary saw her so angry. Khan understood that there would be gossip about her again. When she entered the office, she again could not understand why she had slammed his car door, although she was very angry at the time. Mr. Beck came to visit again. The heroine missed that he would tell something again. At that moment, a message came to her phone. Having gone outside, Khan saw a young girl. She asked why Ta did not answer her calls and explained to someone that she was very worried about her. Seeing that person, Khan realized that the girl was indeed very beautiful. It was Lee Sung-ken. She said that Siri's heart was becoming calmer. The heroine thanked Sun-ken for his care. Lee Sung-kyung was the perfect female lead. She was kind, beautiful, sweet, and gentle. Sarah hated and was jealous because everyone loved her. In the final conclusion, this led to addiction and clashes between the main male characters, which were a typical plot resolution. Han believed that if, from that moment on, she would get along well with Sun-ken and maintain peaceful relations, then at last it would be possible to avoid a fatal outcome. The girl suggested that they stop somewhere in the garden. It was very wonderful there. But Khan did not leave the thought of whether she would be able to avoid a fatal outcome. Song Kang asked if Sir would mind if she sat by the window. It was very beautiful there, because you could see the garden. Sarah told the girl that she had partial memory loss. Her friend assumed that it was very difficult for the girl at that moment. Song Ken said that she tried to contact her, but Ta did not answer. She asked if her friend had forgotten about her. Sarah smiled and said that it was because she had returned to work after a long time and was very busy. After that, the dream said that it doesn't matter how much work her friend had, but that she must always answer her calls. She was worried that her friend of 10 years had suddenly stopped answering her calls. Sarah smiled and said that in the future, she would definitely answer all her calls. After that, the girl thanked for taking care. At that moment, the girls came up to them and greeted Song Ken. Sarah couldn't remember who they were. At that moment, it seemed to her that they were her friends. The girls asked if they could join them. Khan thought that atmosphere was very strange. They didn't seem friendly towards her. The girl did not want to complicate things. She wanted the dream to politely refuse them. But the dream smiled and invited the girls to sit down. At that moment, one of the girls asked the dream if it was true that she was launching a new brand. She said that the girl worked very hard, and at their age, you just needed to have fun and go on dates. The girl replied that she was a little tired, and we'll see, and it's time to get married. The girls asked if she decided to do it too quickly, because you can take your time at all, since it was a very important decision. One of the girls said that Sun was very cute with a good character, and a lot of boys wanted girls to introduce them to her. Afterwards, she was asked if her boyfriend had already returned to Korea. Sun smiled and said that he arrived last week. Khan thought about the fact that communication with rich women was very exhausting for her. She wanted to say that she had a lot to do and go away, but, at that moment, the dream said that Sarah was much more beautiful than her, and besides, she was extremely kind and sweet. Khan did not understand at all why the girl said this and why she was involved in that conversation. The girls were asked if they had reconciled yet. Bowing her head, the dream answered that there was only a misunderstanding between them. After that, she added that Sarah had amnesia at that moment, and she did not remember the past time at all. Sun suggested that they not talk though, which Sarah didn't understand. At this moment, Sarah could not stand it and intervened in the conversation. The girls continued to discuss her. I thought people thought badly of her because of her makeup, because it looked quite strange. There were many reasons that created wrong thinking. Sun looked at her sister and told someone that she was very jealous of her. Despite the fact that she was not a celebrity, Ta was still confident enough to dress like that. The girls went outside and said goodbye. At that moment, the dream turned to Sierra and reminded her that the girl was invited to the party for the opening of duty-free Rom shop. The girl said that the party was next week and Sarah had to dress up very nicely. The girls discussed that Sierra had made up everything about the amnesia, but the dream tried to protect her in front of the girls. The girl returned home. She reflected on the fact that Tir Sera's memories were partial and fragmented. Only after talking with Sun and her friends, she started to remember something. Then, the girl remembered one moment from her father's life. She almost attacked the girl with a knife because of what she was spreading there. The girl understood that it was good that the guards intervened before something very bad could happen. If she caused the dream as much pain as it did to Arona, then their relationship could become difficult. Khan felt that she should have apologized before the dream properly, but she assumed that even if she had brought her apology, perhaps Ta would not have accepted it, just like Aaron. Then she understood why the boy was so cold to her. At first, she thought they would get along. She was worried about why no one had been kind to her since she came back from her coma and was on the verge of death. Several days passed. Sarah, wearing a dress, would never have thought that one day she would wear such a thing. She couldn't understand why Chajae doesn't answer her calls. The girl went to a party. Upon arrival, she was met by Aaron. Opening the car door, he offered the girl his hand. Getting out of the car, she said that since he was also invited, they should go there together. The boy did not answer her at all. Once inside, the boy let go of the girl's hand and said that they would see each other later. Sarah was outraged by such an act and asked him where he had gone. She didn't understand why he wanted them to come in together and then separate. She did not understand why he left his bride just like that, because it was her first time at such an event. The girl did not know what to do herself, and if she just stands in the corner, no one will pay attention to her. Suddenly, at that moment, she heard a familiar voice. It was a dream. He asked her what she was doing at that event. Smiling, she replied that she did the same to someone as he did. The guy replied that he was invited as a guest. He immediately complimented Sarah and said she looked beautiful. After that, he added that no one could even think that she was the main guest there. The girl replied that if the boy was going to quarrel with her again, she told him to go somewhere else. Leaning towards her, he told her not to behave like that. After that, he added that he just thought she was hungry and wanted to invite her upstairs to the banquet. At that moment, the lady screamed for him not to approach her. Suddenly, she heard that someone addressed her by name. It was her friend. Then, she asked if they knew each other. Sarah replied that they had seen each other several times at work, and she saw a familiar face and decided to say hello. The boy confirmed her words. Then the girl said that they needed to talk about something and decided to go somewhere else. Thus, she escaped from the director. Sun took the boy's hand and asked what he was talking about with Sarah. The guy replied that they just said hello. Meanwhile, Khan ran out into the corridor. Then she realized that they were almost caught. According to the plot of the drama, the two were supposed to get married. The girl believed that it was all because Cha left her there alone. He looked up and was invited. She understood that even the leaders of the Sunwon groups should have been invited. The girl believed that she was the only one who did not fit into that atmosphere at all. If at that moment she was the real Han Jia, she would not be the child of a rich family, nor the deputy president of a large company, but just an ordinary employee. She was worried about the question why she was there. It seemed to her that no one recognized her. But the situation was so pointless that maybe even the real Shinsera felt that way too. She was not recognized either as the deputy president, or as a bride, or even as a friend. That is why she refused that role and disappeared. No matter how much she wanted it, she decided that it was time for her, and there was nothing else to look at. When she went outside at that moment, a stranger ran up to her and caught her by the hair. He shouted that everything happened precisely because of her. Khan could not understand what was happening at that moment. An unknown man in a cap stood in front of her and shouted that something had happened to his Insung because of her. The guests could not understand what was happening on the street and who that guy was. Even Sera's friend realized that something was wrong. Her boyfriend also decided to see what was happening outside. At that moment, guards ran up to the unknown criminal and caught him. They could not understand how he managed to get into the territory of the West, but he continued to shout that something had happened to his daughter because of Sir. The guards tried to calm him down, and Sarah, meanwhile, was lying on the ground not understanding anything. At that moment, her fiancé saw that something was happening. This made him very confused. He couldn't believe that that girl had brought him so much trouble again. At that moment, he immediately went to the girl. Suddenly, her friend's son approached Sarah. She said the man told her he wanted to convey something to the girl and asked Sun to help her do it. She couldn't refuse him because it was about Sarah. The girl was embarrassed by the fact that everything turned out like this and apologized to her friend. She tried to fix the situation somehow, but Sarah looked up and told her to shut up immediately. Sarah got up from the ground and just silently went away. The guests could not understand what was happening and why the guards did not check all the insects that were there carefully. After hearing what the man said, they thought he had a good reason, because he was talking about his daughter. Everyone stood and looked at the trail of the girl and could not understand what she had done to deserve such a thing. They saw that it was the same girl who worked for Sunwon Groups who was causing trouble. At that moment, the girl realized that she was very wrong. Even then, without warning, she decided that she would live quietly from that moment on. She assumed it was because she was not getting credit from the original creator. She could give up that role and disappear. Khan understood that she really wanted it. With such thoughts, she simply tried to avoid that situation. She went to the car and got into it. The girl did not understand where Director Beck came from. She didn't expect to see him there at all. After taking off the jacket, Director Beck said he would take her to the hospital, but the girl refused. She asked him to take her home. He tried to argue with her, but Sarah replied that the man had a crush on her or something. She asked the man to explain himself. After hearing this, Beck asked the sire if she really did not remember anything. He said that last time, when she was stressed because of work, she was rude to an employee of a security company. It was the father of one of the workers. That employee developed depression because of her work and attempted suicide. Then she was urgently hospitalized. In this case, the company was not held responsible. Therefore, father could not help her in anything and only felt offended. Nevertheless, they decided that the issue would not remain unaddressed. Bez wanted to immediately assemble a legal team for a legal response, but at that moment, Sarah refused to do so. She said he better find a way to help with compensation. Then, the girl added that it could be monetary compensation or a sincere apology. For this, she could even kneel down. It didn't matter to her exactly how to make amends. Please come to a resolution that will satisfy the victim's side. Sarah felt very embarrassed. She said if there were any other situations like this, she would also like to make up for everything. Then, she asked if there had been any other incidents. The man looked at the lady and was surprised that she did not remember anything at all. No matter how sincerely she tried to bring back the memories of the real Shinsera, she couldn't do anything. The girl believed that her actions were empty, and she couldn't understand how many more such forgotten situations there were like this one. It was confusing the girl with the mind. After all, if someone harbored a grudge because of such actions, then she understood that there would be many more people who would try to take revenge on her and harm her. Being locked up in a drama seemed to the girl to be such an unreal situation that she partially lost touch with reality. Looking at her hands, she decided that she didn't need to live in fantasy. Khan believed that this place was not for her. It was more like the world of drama than reality. Exactly the same as when she was Hanji-ah. Reality was like a sewer. The next day, the girl came to the office. One of the men told her to explain why she had given such an order so suddenly. Smiling, she replied that it was quite strange, because she had given all the reasons for it. It seemed to her that the position corresponded to the capabilities of the head of the department. After that, the girl added that the chairman supported everything and asked if the man definitely had any objections. After that, bowing his head and turning to the deputy chairman, the man apologized for his rudeness. Picking up the phone, the girl did not understand what he was apologizing for. After that, she returned the phone to her husband and said that she understood why he apologized to her. At the same time, she pressed the button on the phone and the sound recording started. There it was said that the girl was born with a silver spoon in her mouth and could not do anything else. It was said that she could not take the place of deputy chairman without any management skills. It seemed to some that there was no place for the head of the department when the head's daughter was sitting there. They discussed the girl behind her back in the company restroom. Sear said they clearly made work life more fun. Thanks to that recording, everything was resolved much faster. The man did not expect to hear that conversation on the record. He immediately began to make excuses in front of the girl and said that she misunderstood everything. Sarah smiled and replied that there wasn't a single conversation that couldn't be misunderstood. She believed that it would be a misunderstanding if he continued to say such banal things. She replied that if the head of the department could deal with this situation, she would delete the record and revise the guidelines. With a smile, Sarah said that in the future, all tasks were to be issued through her. After that, the girl informed that the man must come after the meeting. After all, her name had to be in a prominent place on the finished product. The girl asked if it was not a very difficult task for him. She always believed that organized restructuring was necessary. Most of the management is Sanwan trading was only on hand. The girl decided that she needed to dig into the affairs of the company. She had to get her part of the stock that remained. It was all very difficult for her, and at that moment she thought that her head would soon explode. It was not at all like her usual work in her past life, but she understood that she had no other choice. At the same time, in addition to the company's issues, there was another problem that needed to be solved urgently. Her name was Song Ken. The girl remembered how her friend apologized to her and said that she thought the man just wanted to talk to her, because he said then that it would only take a few minutes and she could not refuse him. Since the party at the opening of the store was organized by the ROM company, the girl missed that Song Ken was probably also engaged in inviting guests. If it turns out that Song Ken specifically allowed an uninvited guest to enter because she said she did it without malice, then she can't be held responsible. Then, Khan realized how the thief informed the main female character. All events took place in the same way as in the drama. She thought it was very unbelievable and ridiculous. Khan could not believe that she had become a victim of a massacre that she had only seen before in a drama. The girl missed that she should have guessed about all the events. After leaving the office, she decided to drink coffee, so she headed to the kitchen. At that moment, someone entered the kitchen. It was Aaron. Seeing his sister, the boy remembered the events that happened with her at the party. When he went outside after hearing a noise, he saw Sarah's fiancé in the crowd. He didn't understand why they were apart from each other. The boy looked at the man and did not understand why he did not go to protect his bride. He considered him a pathetic boy. But he understood that even if he approached him, he would not be able to do anything to him, and everything would end in a quarrel again. It was Aaron who called the director of the bank and asked him to drive the car to the banquet hall. He said that Sarah had an accident. The boy stood silently behind the girl and looked at her bandaged wounds. Seeing Aaron behind, Sarah also offered him coffee. She told the girl that she could cook it for him, but after thinking for a few minutes, she lowered her head and said that it would be better if he prepared it himself. Because if she made coffee for him, he'd think she laced it with drugs. Passing by the boy, he addressed her by name. Aaron asked the lady if everything was all right with her. At that moment, their eyes met. She couldn't believe what she heard and asked him if he really asked about her condition. After that, jokingly, she asked if it was not visible from her that she had recently left the hospital. After that, the girl told him to make coffee for himself, and she left. Aaron did not expect such a reaction. Entering the office, Sarah could not come to herself. She felt as if she had lost her mind. The girl did not understand why everything happened so suddenly. She thought the boy would say her actions were terrible. At that moment, tears rolled down her face. Couldn't understand why she was crying. And at that moment, she realized that insects really became like the main character. In the meantime, Aaron made himself a coffee and remembered their meeting. He thought about everything for a long time. Events moved to the meeting room. The girl talked about the fact that she reviewed the previous data, and it seemed to her that the declaration about the gradual rejection of acne was cancelled. Sarah wondered what the reason was. One of the men replied that it was a matter of short-term profit. There were also problems related to the interests of business partners. The girl replied that they were constantly told that their side did nothing. It was on this that the heroine made an accent. Sarah asked that the personal information be verified, and she would finish reviewing the matter that day and speak with the accounting staff. After that, Director Beck went to the office. He said that in the last few days their internal evaluation has improved significantly. The girl thanked him for this and said that it was all thanks to his help, because she herself would not have coped with anyone. The man smiled and said that it was not true, and it was all thanks to the wedding of the deputy chairman. Even the chairman was interested in their affairs. This alarmed the girl, and she was worried why the head was interested in this. Sarah didn't think of President Shin as her father at all, but he was mentioned as the father of her heroine. Even if they saw each other at work, he completely ignored her. This seemed very strange to her, because they lived in the same house, and he did not go beyond his personal space at all. Sarah smiled and said that she had become the subject of the president's close attention. He even inquired about her well-being. At that moment, the girl remembered that Aaron also asked about how she felt. Then, Principal Beck wondered if the chairman had really inquired about how he was feeling. Sarah smiled and replied that it was the pure truth. In fact, given his nature, she thought he would get angry and tell her to stop giving him trouble. At this point, Principal Beck turned to the deputy chairman and said that he knew that he and the chairman had a strange relationship, but he felt that he had to tell something. Such words alarmed the girl. She wondered what he wanted to say. The man said that when he was waiting for her near the banquet hall, it was Mr. Aaron's order. Sarah did not understand why the boy did this. The director added that they were in a hurry that day, so he could not explain everything to her then, but he told him that the deputy president was injured and needed help. That is why Aaron called Director Beck. The man added that Vice President Lee was also very worried about her. The heroine could not believe her ears. At that moment, she realized that Director Beck had indeed appeared on time. She then realized that Aaron was actually asking her how she was feeling because he was genuinely worried. Even when she tried to escape from the house, he quarreled with her. Sarah didn't quite understand why Aaron did that, but in any case, at that moment, she didn't care. After reviewing all the documents, she needed to make a report on the financial situation. The girl felt very exhausted from this work. Sitting more comfortably in the chair, she realized that she did not want to work at all. In order to fit into her schedule, she had to consider starting work earlier. At that moment, taking the phone in Komu's hands, she decided that she needed to eat. Entering the restaurant, she heard someone talking about her at one of the tables. The unidentified man said that it had been a long time since he last saw her. The man looked up and asked with a smile, "If everything was okay, girl." Sarah smiled and asked who he was, because she didn't remember him at all. The man replied that he had heard that she had lost her memory, and at that moment realized that it was true. Then he said that she needed to visit Doha. After hearing about Dosa, the girl remembered that it was something that company managers did at least once in dramas. They turned to fortune tellers to find out whether their company would do well in the future or not. The man said that he had not seen the girl for a long time, and it seemed to him that her spirit had changed. Smiling, Sarah thought that she wanted to sit down anyway, and he kept talking. She answered that maybe her life could change in the future, because lately it was very difficult for her. Things were not going in the best way. The man replied that the life of the deputy chairman was not what he could have predicted. Sarah looked at him and did not understand at all what he was talking about. After that, she left and said that she had dinner. The man looked at her with an inexplicable look. After a hard day, the girl finally came home. She was glad that she finished her work on time. Once inside, Vona realized that she needed to quickly wash up, take her medicine, and go to bed. Suddenly, in front of her, she saw that someone was lying. It was Aaron. He was completely unconscious. The girl sat down next to him and asked if everything was okay with him. Getting up, Sarah assumed that she needed to call an ambulance, but realized that it would be quite difficult to wake up from my sleep. Then she remembered the deacon, but he too had already gone home. Taking the boy's hands, she decided to take him to the room. The girl carried the boy into the room and put him on the bed. At that moment, Aaron opened his eyes. He saw Sarah in front of him. The girl asked if he had woken up yet. She said he was lying outside by the door. Smiling, she added that there was no need to take the medicine on an empty stomach. The boy got up and could not remember what had happened to him. She repeated again that Aaron was lying outside by the door, so she helped him and carried him into the room. After that, the heroine added that it was already too late, and she called Dr. Kim and questioned him. He said that the boy often fell unconscious from pain in his body when he overexhausted himself. Smiling, she told him to eat his porridge and take his medicine. The boy saw a plate of porridge on the bedside table next to him. He asked if she had cooked it herself. Sarah smiled and said that she had prepared it. After that, she added that it was just rice porridge, but it tasted pretty sweet. But there was nothing better than her when someone was sick. The boy was surprised by what he heard, because he did not know that the girl knew how to cook. Sarah smiled and replied that she was cooking for the first time. But at that time, it was very easy to find any recipe. While Aaron was eating, the girl remembered that Sarah's real Shin wasn't good at cooking at all. She understood that businesswomen did not need to cook, because she could hire a chef. Then, Aaron asked the girl if she was going to stay with him. Embarrassed by the insects, she got up from her chair and answered that she had decided to leave. Walking out the door of the room, the girl thought that the boy looked quite cute when he was eating. She realized that she had been watching him without even realizing it. At that moment, it seemed to her that she had lost her mind and was not thinking at all about what was needed. It seemed to her that she was sleeping on the move, so she had strange thoughts. Khan decided that she needed to go to bed urgently. The next day, the girl talked to a colleague and shouted that she was not going anywhere. But they calmed her down and told her not to whine. The woman asked how many series there were years, that she was so picky about working moments. Sarah turned her head towards her and said that the woman wanted her to screw up again at an event like this. At that moment, she once again said that Aaron should go instead of her. The woman replied that the boy was on a long trip at that moment. Aaron was the only one who could present the Sun One company at that time. The woman called Sarah, her daughter, and said that the girl said that the atmosphere in the company had improved. She was sure that the heroine would cope with everything. It did not suit the girl at all. Afterwards, the mother added that it was a great opportunity to strengthen the company's position, both internally and externally. At that moment, Sarah realized that with such an act, she could kill two birds with one stone. Turning her head to her mother, she agreed to go west. The woman was very happy that the girl still agreed to her request. The day of the event has come. Getting out of the car, the girl thanked her fiancé Zate for joining her. She suggested that he might have had other plans that day. The man gave her his hand, and together, they headed towards the entrance. Then, the sire asked him not to walk away from her, as he did last time. And also, she ordered him not to frown. Smiling, Sarah added that the man should act like her partner. She added that if he had even an iota of conscience, he should definitely listen to her advice. Cha Jae-in looked at the girl and nodded his head in response, and understood everything. At the time, he said, it seemed to him as if Sarah was against breaking off the engagement, as she was again asking him to play the role of her fiancé. Then, Sir smiled, and said that everything seemed to him and their relationship came to an end. Approaching the entrance, they were met by two men. One of them said that it was a great honor for them to meet the deputy president. The man added that he had heard that she was incredible and had seen her for himself. Sarah smiled and congratulated her husband on the opening of the gallery. She said that the inside of the melon looked just as charming as the outside. After that, she reported that tire chairman also asked to convey his greetings for the gallery. The man smiled and thanked her for that. Then, he said, they were supposed to have a cocktail show after dinner, so he invited the girl to come there with her fiancé. Leaving the men, the girl smiled and asked if he had heard others that they were told to come there together. The man silently looked at the girl without answering. She asked why he was looking at her strangely, and then added if the event was so bad. The bridegroom thought that the lady was not so friendly before. At that moment, a girl passed by the young couple. She turned to Sarah and greeted her. Sarah greeted back and remembered that that girl was among Sun Ken's friends at the cafe. She thought she was very calm, but she did not remember her name at all. The girl approached the lady and said that she actually wanted to ask for her contact details because she did not have her number. She added that she wanted to know him later at Sun Ken, but since they met there, she decided to ask herself. After that, she added that they were supposed to have a meeting on Sunday. That's why she offered the series to join them if she was free. After thinking for a few minutes, I always understood that it was an ordinary meeting of the daughters of rich families. She replied that she would be happy to join them, and also her phone number for the girl. She immediately took out her phone and wrote it down, and said that she had arrived at the exact time and place of the event. Wednesday said that the girl looked more directly soulful than Lee Sun Ken's other two friends. She assumed that it had done it out of good intentions, but she was definitely starting to see a pattern. At that party, the girl felt her reputation improve. Until that moment, Shin Surei's reputation was the worst of the Sunwang groups. She used to be a mad woman who was dumped by her own fiancé. And in the present, when she was walking confidently with Chaché, was smiling proudly. No one has any doubt that a bad reputation is nothing more than just gossip. It seemed as if they were reunited after a serious quarrel between lovers. The girl sweetly leaned her head against the boy's shoulder and thought that what she saw meant victory. Rather than go out on her own, she decided to effectively dispel them with her appearance. At this point, the man turned to Sarah's tires and asked if they needed to hold hands. The girl smiled and replied that it was necessary, because in the event that they wanted to show how close they were, there was no better way than this. At that moment, Sun approached the girl. She asked how Usera was doing. The heroines and the bridegroom came closer to her. Sun introduced herself to the boy and said that she was Sarah's best friend. After that, she apologized to the girl for the fact that she did not like me when the dream said so. The heroine smiled and realized in her mind that Ta had already provided information. After that, Sun turned to Sarah and asked how her wounds were. After that, the girl asked if she felt better. She added that she was really worried and apologized for that day. She spoke about the fact that she did not expect that everything would turn out like this, because that man was in despair. Seer smiled and said that she remembered what the girl told her then. She added that she understood her. Sun reported that she called an ambulance that day, but the Sir had already left by then. The girl looked very angry and didn't even want to talk to her. She asked if Sarah was still mad at her, and that was why she was not answering her calls. At that moment, Sarah said that she urgently needed to talk to her fiancé. Sun replied that she hadn't thought about it and apologized to the girl. Sarah said that everything was fine, and she will definitely write to her later. Turning to the girl, the lady replied that she did not answer only her calls. The girl said that she was very busy at work for several days, so she did not answer all personal calls. After that, she added that she wasn't mad at her at all, that she shouldn't worry, and wished her to have a good time. Always said so using the way that she wanted the best, and the girl ruined everything to blame someone. At this point, the girl's fiancé asked if the daughter of Chairman Lee of Raum Company was her friend. Sarah smiled and replied that it was true, and now she was very uncomfortable. She then added that he should not worry about it, and that the incident at the Raum party was their fault. She added that it will not affect the boy in any way. Then he thought, if it didn't seem to him, then at that time, The girl made an enemy in the face of a strange girl. At that moment, the lady asked the man why he was asking about the dream. She asked if he was interested in her, and maybe she needed to introduce them personally. The man was upset by such an answer, and he replied to Komar that it was all wrong. The girl knew that according to the plot of the drama, the two were supposed to be together, even if they acted like it wasn't true. After that, they went up to the second floor. The girl thought that he was simply wonderful and did not look like a palace, not at all like an exhibition hall. She thanked the boy for accompanying her that day. Sarah added that she thought he would run away from her again. She asked her fiancé if he felt guilty, but on the other hand, she also wanted him completely heartless. After that, the girl announced that they had to go downstairs, because the cocktail show was about to start. The boy agreed with her. When they were coming down from the second floor, the man who was standing next to him on the stairs slipped and almost fell on the sear. At that moment, the girl's fiancé caught him and told him to be careful on the steps. The man bowed his head and apologized and explained that the floor was very slippery. The man turned his head to the girl and asked if everything was okay with her. Looking up at him, she did not understand how the man who accompanied her that day could leave her alone at that party. In any case, he behaved much better then. Sarah thanked him for that. She assumed that the boy might not be in the mood, as she suggested that he have dinner together. She added that she wanted to finish their conversation, which they had never been able to finish before. The man did not understand what conversation she wanted to end. Sarah added that the matter should have been about the destruction of the engagement. Entering the restaurant and taking a seat at the table, Sarah said she would get straight to the point. She said that what the boy wanted when he decided to marry her, she would give him in divorce. She thought he was in a desperate position to marry such a crazy girl like her. After that, she added that if things did not go well for the Kumgan Group company, it would still remain a rootless company that started with usury. That is why the wedding with the company Sonwon, which has proven itself very well, was very important. The engagement was partly her decision, and partly his for the benefit of the family. Then there are remnants that she was right. The woman asked why he had a coma relationship that he didn't like. Cha-jae was looking for stability and peace in everything to consolidate his position as the succession of the company. He had his own separate company, Lumitech, part of the Kumgan Group. Lumite developed rapidly and absorbed one small company after another. They were companions of Kumgan Groups. As there was a limitation for internal work, support from various areas of Sunwon was needed. Since the daughter of the chairman of the Sunwon Group showed obsession with the grandson of the chairman of the Kumgan Group, even in the Kumgan Company, they considered it a great opportunity and began to insist on marriage. Now suggested that she invest about 20% of the shares of their logistics company in his company. That was her proposal. She asked if he would be satisfied with such a present for breaking off the engagement. Cho replied that it was pretty good, but it sounded like complete delusion. He added that the girl was considered an exile in the Sonwon company and had no influence in it. And compared to Vice President Lee, she was not even an heir. At the same time, she was pushed into the marriage market like a commodity. The girl replied that she expected such an answer, because the boy cared about how he looked and spoke decisively, because his pride was hurt. She said he was trying to convey to her that it was obvious that Vice President Lee, who had a strong position in the company, would interfere, and that she should stop dreaming and just give up. Afterward, she said she felt like they lacked trust in their relationship, considering they were a bride and groom. Everything said that in the near future, Sunwon's audit group will conduct an audit on compliance with the rules of fair trade. The audit team reports directly to the head, so even Deputy Lee cannot interfere. As soon as the audit is over, there will be a large-scale auction. And depending on how the guy shows himself, she may fully support his company. It seemed to her that he still completely underestimated her, because she was only his bride and the daughter of the head of the Shy company. He didn't have to marry a girl he didn't like and still keep the fate of the inheritance. He thought about it for a few minutes, then answered that this was exactly what he did not understand. After all, she once asked him to marry her, and for some reason changed her mind. Smiling, the heroine replied that she just didn't love him anymore. She added that he ignored her and neglected her as a bride. His one-sided, disrespectful attitude and evasion of the duties of the bridegroom. And this was also contributed to by his selfish preservation of his dignity, attempts to be better than her in disputes, and forcing him to do something. She added that she simply hated all this, and he was disgusting to her. She wondered if he still had questions. And if not, then she decided to finally end everything that day. Then, she felt a great relief, because finally everything she wanted was said. Sunday has come. Sarah went to a party where the girls invited her. Meeting her acquaintance at the door, she thanked for the invitation. Sarah realized that if she is meeting with friends, she prefers such a calm atmosphere. But the atmosphere was quite refreshing and pleasant. Sitting down at the table, one of the girls greeted her and said that they had also recently arrived. There were several coma girls whom she saw for the first time, and some of whom were quite uncomfortable. It seemed to her that they were gathering together in order to get closer. Ken entered the hall. The girl saw her and smiled. Song Ken-woo replied and said hello to her friend. At that moment, I understood what kind of person Sun Ten was. She could finally read her expression. It seemed to her that it said why the sergeant was there. Then, the girl approached the series and asked why she was also present there. After that, she added that she didn't invite her because she thought she would be busy. She said that she wanted to call, but again said that she did not take personal calls, so it was difficult to tell about the meeting. She asked if anyone had contacted Sira at her request. Sarah smiled and said that she wanted to come, so she found out about the place herself. She was very tired from work, so she decided to change her pace. Sarah added that she had hoped that the dream would personally invite her, but she did not because she was worried about her. The girl added that everything was as usual. Sun Ken was very caring. The heroine said that she no longer needed to take care of her because it became easier at work and the problems related to her frequent memory loss were solved. After hearing about the loss of memory, the girls decided to ask the sir about it. The girl replied that she fell from anemia and hit her head hard. That's why she got memory loss. Some memories never came back to her because of the shock. At first, she didn't even recognize her mother. The girl underwent outpatient treatment for several days. The girls assumed that it was very difficult for Siri to be in this condition. They thought she needed to avoid overworking herself. Siri smiled and said that at that moment, everything was fine with her. Everything was fine, thanks to the director Beck and Iran, as well as many other people who took care of her. Hearing about Iran, the dream thought that Sira did not get along with him before. She reminded us that at a recent closed party, Iran came to pick up Sir, and they had a fight. She added that she wondered if they had reconciled with Aaron. It seemed to her that at the opening of the gallery, she was reunited with Che. The girl smiled and said that Sira really knew how to put up with boys quickly. She asked if the girl had a strained relationship with Che and Aaron. Siro replied that everything was quite the opposite, because why would Aaron come for her in a car? She added that she was quite close with Aaron. Although they quarreled in public, they quickly reconciled at home because they lived in the same house. If the girl knew that someone was interested in her personal life, she would be more careful. She then added that in any case, Aaron and her were fighting because they were brother and sister, and about Jay, she had marital conflicts with him because they were going to get married soon. Then the girls immediately began to listen attentively and thought it was very cute. One of the girls said that it was difficult to imagine that she and her fiancé did not get along because she saw her fiancé in person and he seemed very kind and calm to her. Sarah smiled and replied that Jay was very calm, even when they fought. He never raised his voice at her. One of the girls who invited Sir to the party told someone that they were a perfect couple. She added that when she heard about him, she became curious about how he looked in real life, and when she saw him, she thought he was very handsome. Sarah smiled and said that the compliments addressed to her fiancé made her very happy. This was exactly the point of Lee Sung. Their conversation began at the girl's wish, as she wanted to strengthen Sara's bad reputation. When the sensitive Sara began to quarrel with Sun Ken, who claimed that she was telling the truth and that she was being unfairly accused, that's how it was. Sarah smiled and asked what happened to Sun Ken. She said that there were also rumors about the girl, however, that her boyfriend had returned from abroad. She added that she thought it was because it was the director of the Kojong One. She saw them holding hands at a rom party. The girls immediately started asking Ken's dream if she had someone, and what kind of person he was. Sarah noticed that Director Zhang was cooperating with her company. One of the girls asked Sir what the boy Kent looked like. The girl described him as a tall mestizo, but quite handsome. At that moment, the dream replied that it was her fiancé. She added that they were engaged. In fact, she wanted to introduce him later at the engagement party. The girl was a little embarrassed that she was being talked about in a similar way in her personal life. The girls apologized to her because they talked a lot about her life. Sun replied that she was just planning to report it later. After that, she added that straightness has not changed over time, and she got used to it. When Sarah returned home, she realized that she was very exhausted. She went to meet in order to expand the circle of communication and improve her image. But halfway through, it turned into a power struggle with Sun Ken. But it was still pretty fun. For the first time, being a senior citizen, she had relations that she could call friendly. But the girl thought about whether she had bent the stick. She thought she could control herself, but she drank too much wine. Therefore, she fell down while walking down the stairs. I understood everything. What a fool I was doing when I got drunk at night. Although not from a heart attack, she almost died stupidly again.